What's up, guys? DevildogGamer here, and we're back with more Nuclear War Simulator. Now, this game has a pretty interesting scenario already built into it. With the war in Ukraine raging on, Russia's been talking a lot about the use of tactical nuclear weapons on the field in Ukraine. And a lot of people are worried about it. I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think anyone's really stupid enough to use a nuclear weapon. And this scenario shows why. Built into this scenario, Russia uses a tactical nuke in Ukraine, and it spirals deeply out of control. This is a pretty realistic scenario. Most people I've seen who've done theories on what the scenario would be if Russia used a tactical nuclear weapon pretty much almost mirrors this scenario completely. Almost everybody agrees this is kind of how it's going to happen, how it's going to go. And Nuclear War Simulator, which is a simulator that is built by universities to test the effects of nuclear war and fallout and such on the world, this has a really realistic and scary scenario of it. So we're going to go ahead and open it up. This one is called the European Escalation. In this scenario, Russian forces are suffering a conventional defeat after the invasion of Ukraine. Facing internal pressure, Russian leadership is deciding to use one tactical nuclear weapon to blackmail Western countries into giving up support for Ukraine. This is a big one. Internal pressure. If Russia starts losing and internally Russia starts to collapse, a nuclear weapon use is probably highly predicted to be used to kind of quell a lot of that with internal and war efforts. Later, several nuclear weapons are used on the battlefield in an attempt to stop Ukraine advance. The U.S. Navy is attacking Russian targets in Crimea and the Black Sea using conventional weapons. Russia responds by attacking the railroad infrastructure that supplies weapons from Poland to Ukraine, and it spirals deeply, deeply out of control. So this one's a hands-off. I'm just going to narrate it, let it run. We're going to pause, speed up on certain parts because certain things happen fast. Facing conventional defeat in Ukraine, Russia uses a tactical nuke. 1, 2, stop it. Oh, I got to really slow it down here. So after the tactical nuke doesn't work, they start using a small limited strike with tactical nuclear weapons on Ukrainian military areas. So the tactical nuke on the battlefield doesn't seem to stop the Ukrainian advance, so they use a few more tactical nukes on military sites to really slow Ukraine down. As you can see here, they're all launched from SS-26 Stones from Crimea. You know, Iskanders that are basically turned into nuclear, like medium-range ballistic missiles with a nuclear warhead on top. They have tons of these things. So a low yield in from 5 to 15 kilotons tactical nuclear weapon doesn't do a lot of damage. I mean, it does, but it doesn't do a lot of fallout and such. So they are usable. Russia has a ton of them because their main use for them in the Cold War, as discussed by General Petraeus, the United States military is attacking military Russian targets in Crimea with conventional weapons. So the U.S. does strikes with conventional weapons on Russian targets in response to this. The doctrine of the Soviets was to use tactical nuclear weapons all across Ukraine to create openings for armored spearheads to push through in the event of World War III. So they have a ton of small, low-yield nuclear weapons. And it was in their doctrine in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Low-yield tactical nuclear weapons were usable, and usable by ground force commanders, not just, you know, the premier and all that. It was ground force commanders could authorize the use of these low-yield nuclear weapons. Now it's changed. So a lot of conventional cruise missiles hitting targets all in Crimea, all the nuclear missile launchers, the Black Sea Fleet's gone. We're going to slow it back down because it does start going fast, but that one took forever to get through. So let's wait and see what happens. Any day now, game. Some of these triggers are very slow. Very slow. Russia responds by attacking the road infrastructure in Poland used for weapon delivery. Now, I'm not sure what they use for this. We'll find out, I guess. If it's coming from here, yep, small tactical nuclear weapons. Any day now, game. There we go. Small tactical nuclear weapons launched against Poland, a NATO nation, to attack the railroad infrastructure. So, of course, now it's a NATO issue. So this is where it happens in, of course, you get F-16s that are going to be loaded with B-61 tactical nuclear weapons. So a nuclear attack on NATO gets a NATO nuclear response with tactical nuclear weapons. B-61s are free fall tactical nuclear weapons. On Belarus and Kaliningrad, small nuclear weapons are dropped in response. So far, this has been a tit for tat. Russia is dispersing its airborne road mobile forces. Now, this scenario falls in line of the discipline of overreact or escalate to de-escalate. Escalate to de-escalate means if Russia uses one tactical nuclear weapon, you use 2 back against them. They use 5, you use 10 back. Escalate to de-escalate, because it shows the leaders of each country, hey, especially if you're the one escalating, hey, this is going to keep going. You need to stop this. It's your turn to stop this. Escalate to de-escalate. It's a military strategy in nuclear war, and basically all wars. An overreaction usually sends to kind of de-escalate on certain scenarios. And Russia has a ton of road mobile Topol nuclear missiles and strategic military aircraft. Once they are mobile, you can't stop them. So this is a big sign that something's coming a little faster, because once strategic aircraft are in the air or the road mobile ICBMs are gone and out of their hangars, you can't stop them. They will disappear into the wilderness. This is their hangars. They're driving around in the wilderness, and they will stay mobile until they get the order to launch, and then they will stop and launch their missiles. So they will constantly stay moving. It's next to impossible to stop road mobile ICBMs. Russia has a lot of them, all up in the Urals, deep. They have a lot of ICBMs in silos, but a good majority of them are road mobile because they can't be stopped. Once they're mobile, we can't hit them. We can saturate an area with nuclear weapons and maybe get like a fraction of them. Russia launches a limited nuclear strike on key NATO installations on Europe. Now, just a reminder, a lot of these European countries are nuclear powers also. So then you start getting tripwire stuff, where an attack on one force in another country gets the response from that country. So tripwire forces, basically NATO is just a giant tripwire force anyways. So as you can see, road mobile ICBMs are now launching all over Europe. They're going to hit Romania, probably Turkey, Italy. Germany's going to get hit. Poland, of course, is getting hit. And these are large. These aren't tactical nukes. These are actual large ICBMs. France, England's going to get hit. Now, all of these countries are going to be pulled into the nuclear war. UK and France has tons of ballistic missile submarines, so they're going to fire out shortly too in response. And now you have them as a responding force. So now you escalated, instead of de-escalating, you escalated to get other countries to escalate. The United States responds by attacking a number of military targets on the Russian mainland. So now SLBMs are being fired from the Atlantic on Russian military targets. Now this is a counterforce strike. So counterforce strikes are strikes against military and nuclear targets, not civilian or infrastructure. So it'll always start out as a counterforce, because you're wanting to destroy their ability to launch nuclear weapons. And if you can get them in the silo, that's a great news. But again, once the road mobile ICBMs are out, you can't really do anything about that. They even hit the strategic airfields, but those aircraft are already outbound anyways. And a lot of the strikes were clustered on just military bases, not strategic, like nuclear infrastructure at all. So it's a weird counterforce that you wouldn't do your first strike on, nuclear target silos and such. But hey, it seems like a realistic reaction to nuclear weapons being used in Europe. Trying to limit the damage, Russia is launching a large-scale counterforce attack on NATO military targets. So another counterforce, only targeting military and nuclear infrastructure. And it looks like a lot of them are going to go to straight main. Oh, it's a large counterforce attack. So this is a massive. SLBMs are firing. You have just stuff flying over the Arctic Circle. So at this point, when you have a large ICBM attack, and it's going to be a counterforce, you have to get your missiles out before they're destroyed. You have to use them or lose them. It's a strategy. If there's a large inbound attack, the nuclear response to the United States is to get all of their nukes out of the ground before they're destroyed, or they become useless. So this is a valid military strategy, and let's see if they'll probably get them out of the silos for sure. I don't see this built in a way to where silos take hits and the rest of, you know, oh god, Europe's getting destroyed over here. UK, I'm sorry. That always worries me about the UK. It's such a small country, an island, that if it takes multiple nuclear strikes, it's just going to be a hellscape. If you've never seen the movie Threads, watch the movie Threads. It is horrific. Horrific, man. Dawn's Early Light's another good one, and The Day After are another really good nuclear war movies. So the U.S. is going to start taking hits on airfields, sub pens, and yep, there they go. They're going to respond. The U.S. responds with a similar counterforce attack on conventional military and nuclear weapon sites in Russia. So another counterforce. They did take a few hits to the missile fields, but it wasn't enough. They're still launching everything. All the subs in the Pacific are now launching. Pretty much use it or lose it at this point, as the missile fields take a huge nuclear strikes. Now all of our missiles are outbound on Russia. Europe's already been laid to waste. The United States is taking massive counterforce strikes. The Midwest is just a fallout. It looks like everybody's ghouls. Everybody's ghouls in the Midwest right now. In America's main strike force, all of them, all the ICBMs are outbound. Ugh, that always hates being on the poles for some reason. Speed it up a little bit. It's going to be all military bases, silos. Russian leadership receiving it is an all-out attack, responds by launching all remaining nuclear weapons. So everything else Russia has is going outbound. A lot of their SLBMs, pretty much that's all they had. They launched all their ICBMs, so everything that was left is just SLBMs at this point. Oh, a few mobile launchers were left alive. Oh, a lot of mobile launchers over here were left alive. So now Russia's launching pretty much everything in retaliation. All their bombers are outbound. NATO countries respond by launching all nuclear weapons at targets. So now all the NATO nations are nuclear weapons free. You're getting SLBMs going to be launching from France, the UK. All bomber forces are now taking nuclear weapons. You can see there's just tons of nuclear cruise missiles already being dropped. The rest of NATO's just launched all of their nuclear ICBMs or SLBMs. Found out today that Israel has ICBMs. Crazy. Now a lot of this is counterforce at this point. All the nuclear missiles have been just kind of hitting everything. So everything that's being targeted is counterforce, civilian infrastructure, military infrastructure, just normal infrastructure, ports, hospitals, airports, fuel refineries, steel refineries, major cities. All of this is counterforce. So it's anything that the nation could be used to get itself back on its feet and keep production of everything going. It's basically just to make sure the country is destroyed. All of the US's strategic aircraft are outbound. We probably got B-52s, B-2s, B-1Bs, nuclear cruise missiles everywhere being launched. All counter value stuff left and right. The thing is, Russia's main population is in this area, so multiple nuclear strikes are basically just going to render this area just The Walking Dead, Fallout in real life. We got to speed this up because these nuclear bombers take forever to get anywhere. And that's it. Basically, every nuclear weapon has been exhausted from all the supplies. Turkey didn't get much of their military bases hit, but Europe absolutely got decimated. We're going to let it run for a little bit, take a look at the fallout. Who's dead? I'm saying about 75 million people died. I'm going to say 75 million people died for sure. So we're going to go ahead and calculate it. Let it calculate. 75 million people. Europe's a fallout wasteland. So is the UK. The Midwest looks pretty bad in the US, but I think most major cities in the US are pretty good. But definitely a lot of casualties in Russia for sure, because they had multiple nations launching nukes on them while Russia had just them launching nukes. All right, come on, calculating casualties. Let's see how this scenario unfolded. As you can see, it just, once you use a nuke, you can't take it back. So I think the use of nukes is just absolutely just stupid. Nobody should do it. Once you use one, you can't take it back, and it just spirals out of control. Global warming 3 Celsius. Russia 45 million, United States 34 million. UK 29 million, Germany 22. Fatalities 190 million. I was way off. Belarus 2 million. 3 million in Canada. $14 million in France. Germany 22. Greece 2.7 million died. Holy moly. All right, let's take a look at countries. Destroyed capacities. There's only 5 million barrels a day active for refineries. Tons of airports still open. Hospitals are good. 200 hospitals. Harbor 69. Active oil storage is at 837 million barrels. Half the world's refineries were destroyed. A lot of stuff got destroyed. Holy moly. Let's take a look at the fallout. Wow, dude, Europe's bad. See, look at the UK, man. Whew, that's rough. Holy moly. Can I just place a person there? I want to see what that's looking like. Russia's not too bad with fallout. The US, the Midwest wasn't too bad, but upper East Coast, you guys are in trouble. Hawaii actually got nailed. Usually Hawaii doesn't get hit that much. China, of course, is untouched. Let's actually run it a little bit. I'd like to see that guy, what he gets, fallout-wise. I think the fallout's already kind of done for the day. Look at all the soot. He's in stable health. Yeah. I think most of the radiation already passed. Well, guys, this is what I think is a pretty realistic scenario on the use of nukes in Ukraine and how it would spiral out of control. Let me know what you think. You think it's pretty accurate? What do you think would be done differently? What do you think would happen in that scenario? Let me know down in the comments below. Talk to you guys later. Peace.